time. What's up, everybody? Kevin the Tac Daddy here on a special edition of Gun News Weekly with Schwells joining me tonight. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, brother? I'm here.
Cool. We're helping out a friend, JJ. He asked us to put together a quick video for him. We figured this would be the best way to just have one of our good old what's up discussions and kind of throw some topics out there, have a quick discussion. That way he can get out the point of view that we kind of talk about on a weekly basis in terms of the ability and the importance of arming yourself as a sound-minded father, brother, son, mother, daughter, sister. Again, if you're a sound-minded American and you have the right to carry, we definitely believe that getting that weapon in place, getting the proper training is important. And so we figured we'd throw out a couple quick topics tonight and have a conversation. So let me throw it to you. Where did you start with this whole concealed carry thing? And what was your first gun? And what are you looking at today as a good first gun for somebody?
Well, everything started with the military. I grew up in New York. So for me, guns were not readily available for someone like myself who was a law-abiding citizen, so gun culture for me wasn't something that I grew up in. I had a family member that I never got to meet who was killed because someone was mishandling a gun and they shouldn't have had it. So, growing up, they weren't something that you found in the house. It wasn't something that dad took you out back and taught you how to shoot. But I joined the Air Force, went through rifle training, got my marksmanship ribbon, and that was the beginning of the end. Once I realized that I could do it, it was like, when I'm 21, I'm going all out. Fast forward to Virginia, and I'm stationed at Langley Air Force Base. There was a gun shop right outside the gate, and I bought a new gun every 30 days. I didn't even think about concealed carry at that time. This was before the internet was in everybody's house. So just having a gun for me was great. Going to the range every weekend. Fast forward a few years, end up at Nellis Air Force Base in Las Vegas, and home invasions are a huge thing out there. The gangs were doing a lot of home invasions. And that's when I revisited how serious I took it, how many guns I should have. And then I discovered, wait a minute, I can have a concealed carry license, and we can go from there. And that was 15, 18 years ago, so.
Wow. Your journey's a little longer than mine. Mine was summer camp for sure. West Virginia, shooting 22 rifles. Fast forward, lived in, outside of DC, had guns, just had guns. But always, kept them in the glove box or whatever it may be, never really carried. As an adult, always had a gun, but never really carried. Got to a point about a few years back where I found out that having the gun in the glove box was a felony in Florida if I were to get stopped or something were to happen in a school zone and I didn't have that permit. Went and got the permit, realized along that journey as YouTube was starting and videos were coming out and people were talking more and more about the topics, it was kind of all a perfect storm of, I'm going to take this to the next level. The difference between me having it and being like, oh shit, it was always the same concept. I'd rather have it and never need it than need it and not have it. And I always thought that the glove box was a good solution. It's safe, it's locked. I can get to it if I have to. I'm not looking for trouble. But then I started reading stories, learning more, and went through the process of getting the concealed carry permit here in the state of Florida. And again, today, on my side all the time is at least a firearm. And we're going to talk about, I guess, a couple of the other things that you can have on you that are perfectly legal and anybody could have as well. Let's talk about the cost of getting into that real quick. Getting a permit, getting a gun together. This is not a cheap thing because you're going to have to go through the background check. You're going to have to get a training class, and then you're going to have to get a weapon and a holster and a belt that makes sense at a minimum.
If you take it seriously, there's also ammunition because you need to go out there and actually shoot the gun. So no, it's not cheap at all. And it's not going to be the same for everyone. Your state's going to dictate how much it's going to cost just to get that CCW. It's going to dictate how much training you're going to need to take in order to get that CCW. There's so many different things in place. Like here in Florida, I'm a veteran. I'm a retired veteran from the United States Air Force, as I mentioned earlier. My DD-214 was enough for me to submit to get my CCW here. In Nevada, even though I was active duty military, I had to go take the course. So I still had to go get an NRA certification when I was in Nevada when I initially applied for my first CCW. So, different places and the cost is different depending on where you take the class.
But other than the states where it's really difficult, other than the handful of states where it's really difficult, let's also say this is not unobtainium. This is something that you can do. I remember when I moved to Florida, the other thing I will confess right now is I went online and learned how to go about doing it, called them, they sent the paperwork, that fingerprint card, and it sat in a box, and then it ended up in a drawer for, I think, like 2 years when I first got here.
Yeah.
But I think it was like, I think there was a psychological something that said to me, I don't even remember, to be honest with you, but I remember that I got it and didn't do it. But this is something that's not boring.
I was the same way, Kevin. When I decided I was going to get my CCW, a couple of guys at the tower and I decided we were going to do it at the same time. So we all took the class together. You go, you take the class, you get your certificate, then there are steps that need to be taken. But because those steps weren't convenient to our schedule, it did sit for 6 months before I actually did all of the paperwork and actually submitted it. And, so I get it. Life gets in the way sometimes. And before becoming who we are in this industry and paying attention to the training and how important it is, it wasn't a priority at that point.
Well, and also I'm going to go down to the local sheriff's office and give my fingerprints live. Really? And then they're going to do an FBI background check on me. I know I'm clear, but okay. The other thing that I thought was, again, a bonus here in the state, and we were bonus to a law-abiding gun owner, is that if you do go through this process and you do get the FBI background check and you do get the little piece of plastic that says you are a concealed carry permit holder, when you go to buy a gun, the waiting period that other people have to go through that don't have that, haven't gone through those background checks, haven't taken the class, the waiting period basically disappears. You can then get a weapon and walk with it that day.
A pistol, because that only applies to pistols. A rifle, a long gun, you can go into the store and buy it and walk out with a long gun, but a pistol, something, and we are talking concealed carry. So pistols, that's where those laws apply.
Right. So, and the other thing I want to stress is when you do that, the other thing that I got wrong was brand and type of gun. My first experience was I would have done much more research. I would have done much more days or Saturdays at the range, testing the different models that they have there and kind of making some mental notes and even probably some written notes before I slapped down that cash. I felt like I had to have something. I felt like, oh yeah, that's the caliber I heard is good. Yes. 40. I'm down for 40. So all of a sudden I was a 40 guy right out the gate without even like contemplating all of those other things. And we're not going to go there tonight, but yeah, it's I made some of those mistakes so I would, that's the one thing I would say. And then the second part is it took me over a year to really get to the point where I realized the importance of a quality holster, what the difference is between a good quality holster and something that you can get at, no offense, but the aisle of nylon and plastic at a Bass Pro Shop.
And that wasn't until I started doing the YouTube videos, started doing airsoft, actually taking classes, is when I realized you can't just use just anything. That $20 holster or that bargain bin holster that you're finding at the gun shop, that stuff's, one, it's not going to last. Two, it's not appropriate for what you need it for. And you learn, once you start paying attention and you start taking those lessons, you learn very quickly that the quality of the product does matter. Just because it fits doesn't mean it's going to be right for the task that you're deploying in it for. Right.
And it's normal to go through this, is what I think we're discovering here on this chat already, is that there is a growth process. No, you can't jump in and be, tactical Tony, for lack of better terms. You can't be a, tactical Tommy right away, tactical Tina, just because you went and got that plastic card. There's other steps. So, you mentioned a gun that you have in front of you that's a great choice for for a person that's first getting into guns. But let's also mention that there's a ton of content on the internet and there's all kinds of an opinion out there. And I think a good recommendation would be find someone that you trust that's local to you, combine that with some of your own research, and then get out there and get your hand on a weapon at a range and with someone who knows what they're doing, and find out what's good for you.
One of the good things that we have available to us now that we didn't have when I started looking into guns in the early 90s or the late 90s was YouTube, like you mentioned. And the benefit of YouTube is a lot of these guys, there are a lot of different people doing reviews, doing overviews, doing product showcases. So you don't have to take the word of one reviewer. You can watch 10 or 20 videos on that product, and you'll learn quickly. You should be able to learn very fast who you can and cannot trust. We've had new firearms hit the market that were a complete bust, and the industry let people know immediately, you know, and one of those guns is not the Canik TP9. You know, when this gun was introduced, I was skeptical. I'll be honest. Never heard of Canik. It's from Turkey. Century Arms wasn't known for, you know, bringing great pistols to the country at the time. But this gun is fantastic. This gun is, I mean, for the money, it's fantastic. Even if they charge another $200 for it, it's still a fantastic performer. And this gun, under $400, you have a quality firearm that will work.
Extra high capacity magazines, 2 of them that come with it. The holster that comes with it isn't my favorite, but our friends at Green Force Tactical do make the Canik Kydex holster. It's something that I think they also have a fast ship on that too. But they'll make one for you. And when we're talking about, again, Kydex holster, you're talking about something that is a heavy duty plastic construction, different types of belt loops, different types of way to wear it inside or outside of the waistband. But the big thing is the trigger is always completely covered. You know, there's no access to the trigger, and there's retention. It's not going to come out until I put my hand on it, grip it hard, and pull it out.
When I carry my Canik, I carried in an inside the waistband holster designed for Smith & Wesson M&P.
And that works as well from what I heard.
Yep, it fits perfectly. And so, you know, there are options out there.
Right, 100%. And there's other inside the waistband companies. There's other outside. Check them all out. They're out there. So let's talk about a couple other things. Well, what else can you carry with you, or do you carry with you on a regular basis? You know, my whole thing is pretty quickly. It's a phone. Definitely want to have the communication. I carry a keychain that serves kind of a multi-purpose. I have a key bar on there that has all my keys in there that I would need. My car key is separate because it's that big thing. And then I have a multi-tool, the Gerber Dime, which is, again, the standard stuff. If you would need a small blade, a small file, a small screwdriver, a can opener, that kind of thing, a bottle opener. But the other thing that I have is a nice little lanyard on, and I happen to have that Modus lanyard on there because that is, again, something that you can throw to somebody that is a swinging weapon. That becomes a weapon. There's mass there. It's almost like, what is that called? A monkey fist? We talked about this like years ago. You're muted. Monkey ball,
something like that. But yeah, I have one on mine too. So, you know, and not that I would hit anybody with my keys. These things are $150 a piece to replace. But I do switch between a couple of knives, as well as I have a Gerber that I carry around most of the time. This is, you know, I have this in one of my cargo pockets at all times. So, you know, there are a lot of different options, a lot of different things that you can carry on you. And the thing you have to think about is, why are you carrying it, and what is the purpose for it? Are you, you know, there are guys that are preppers, they're survivalists, so they carry stuff like this because if shit hits the fan while they're out and away from home, they're going to use this to try and get home and survive for a little while. You know, you can have a pocket knife, a switchblade, or something. So, you know, whatever your goal is.
I wasn't, again, with Blade Show just ending. I didn't realize the swath of custom knives, of fighting knives, of defensive knives. I love the dart knife with the karambit style now with the ring. I like having that as an option to punch someone if I have to first before I pull the blade out. The other thing I'm big on right now is this is items like this. Again, good American companies, Tough Products makes the EDC pen. It's got a glass breaker on one side, but it also doubles over. And in legal states, it has that keychain, that handcuff key, but it also has a pointer for your stylus, and it's a pen, and also a glass breaker on the tip there. But that's something that can go with you anywhere you go, no matter what sign, no matter what security, no matter whatever. This can go on a plane. The other thing I really like is the item that I learned about at NRA from Rob Pincus is it's from Benchmade. It's almost like a medical tool. It's got a ring on one end. It goes down. It's got a hook, but it's not a knife. But you could do some damage with it if you had to. I'll put that description I'll put that link in the description about that item.
Now, let me ask you, Kevin.
Yep.
You just talked about a product that Rob Pincus introduced you to. Now, just having these products, just having these new items and the new popular item out on the market, that's not enough. Learn to use them.
Yep.
Being able to learn how to use it, because that pen that you just showed me would be useless in my hands because I don't have any kind of hand-to-hand combat training or any experience doing that outside of some street fights when I was growing up. So something like that, I would need to, be introduced in the ways and how to use that effectively to defend myself from an attacker.
Great point. Same thing with the firearms. I mean, we want to stress that if you get a firearm, with the most critical piece after that, after arming yourself, after getting the proper equipment, is getting that training, because that's going to get you all of the different, everything from mindset to techniques and things to do and not do, all of it. Variety of teachers. We endorse anybody that's out there doing a great job. And trust me, once again, there's lots of reviews out there, and Yelp is a great thing, and all the different things that are out there that you can find out about who you want to train with. But we definitely recommend not so much watching YouTube for videos to train, but for learning about who's doing what, and then getting out there and getting it done. And that's the next step. And there's a cost there too, depending on who you're going to see and who you're going to do it with. There's travel, there's hotel, there's the actual class itself. If you're in a place where classes come, or there's a local class at your local range, start there.
I agree. Take classes, get familiar with your firearm. You're also going to learn where your limits are. There's one thing that I learned in classes quickly after I got out of the military. I have health issues, but there's one thing that was identified in one of the first classes I took. My physical conditioning plays a huge part, and your ass is kicked during those classes. So stuff like that you think, okay, I got the gun, I got the great holster, I have the best personal defense ammunition, and I'm ready to rock. But have you trained? And then is your body going to do the things that you think you're able or you want to do? That's why watching YouTube videos, getting an idea is great, but it's not going to push you and help you identify the things that you need to improve on.
You need to get your heart rate up. You need to have some things happen during training that mess with you. Just doing some drills that I've done in the past. Let's take it to the next level, doing some AR drills. I remember the first time I was doing them, and all of a sudden the instructor was taking a stick and jamming up my gun. So he was, basically putting it in the ejection port so that the brass wouldn't eject. And I had to deal with that in the middle of, and already, all right, here's what you're going to do. And people yelling at us, and they amped it up, and they got it to a point where my heart was racing. I think we had already hit some dummies. There was there's things that are going to happen to you in a class, in a real training situation. It's not going to get you 100% ready ever, but it's going to take you from, like Schwell just said, having it, being ready. I remember that. I remember how again, you feel empowered when you get home with that gun from the gun store the first time, and that's why you see all these idiots on the selfies and everything now. That's what they're doing. But back when we got it, that we sat there and looked at it and cleaned it and made sure that thing chambered properly, and then did it again. Dry fire, got the snap caps for it. I mean, I think my first gun, I got everything that you could possibly get for it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So,
That's another thing. The beginner, the first time firearm purchaser goes out and spends tons of money because they see this is what's popular. This is what's in the magazines. This is what everybody's talking about. This is what's on YouTube. And they go out and overspend, only to realize that they're not gonna use $200 or $300 worth of that stuff. That's gonna sit in a box. I have a bag of holsters. I have probably 120 holsters.
what?
Yeah, there's a lot, and there are probably and some of them are for guns I no longer have. So
We should see how many holsters we can shoot through one time on a video. Just side note. But anyway, line them all up.
And these weren't purchases where I regret them. These were, at the time I had the gun for it. But when I either trade the gun or I sell the gun, sometimes the holster goes, sometimes it doesn't, because I'm left-handed, and the person that's buying it is right-handed, and they have no use for my left-handed holsters. And I keep them because you never know. I may revisit that model again because we're gun nuts. We like to revisit things. We have regrets, so.
Yep. Well, that's another show is the addiction, because just like some guys get into cars and tinkering with cars, some guys get into CrossFit. There is a propensity for you to get into guns. Just throwing it out there. It happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember we grew up in a generation where also you'd come home from elementary school and to play war or cops and robbers or whatever it was, and for everyone to be armed and running around the neighborhood down in a ditch. I remember just being in ditches, just, fake shooting people. I got you.
We had laser tag. We had laser
Yep.
tag guns when I was growing up. All of the kids on the block had them, and we used to go out and play. We had a little thing on your chest that recognized the hits and stuff. So yeah, we grew up doing all of that. Sword fighting, with the sticks, all of that stuff. So.
But I also think that the acceptance of the ability and the necessity for an average everyday Joe that lives in suburban America anywhere, or rural America or urban America, to have a gun on him, that's a different thing. That is a mindset issue that you have to get to first before you take that step and start filling out forms to get background check. You better have your mindset straight on why you want to do this and your commitment level to it. The number that I heard that we didn't toss in the, you mentioned this, Schwell, the number that I always heard was that only 10% of the people who get concealed carry permits carry more than, whatever, 90% of the time or a lot of the time would state that they carry most of the time. You were going to say something about that with your training experience.
More on the lines of whether or not they go to the range and actually shoot the guns after that training experience. I do the NRA. I'm a certified NRA instructor, and I've done quite a few classes. We used to do the simuation classes in Orlando, as well as classes out in Big 3. We do the familiarization classes out there once a quarter. And when I talk to folks, some of them are quite honest, and they say, yeah, I'm going to get this license, and then I'm going to put the gun away. Or you talk to somebody later that you run into them at a store somewhere, or you run into them because I'm local, and they say, hey, and you talk to them like, hey, so how's it going? I mean, how often do you go out and shoot? Man, I haven't been out shooting since that class a year and a half ago. Oh, really? So prime example, my uncle. You guys know I'm heavy into firearms. I am passionate about this. My uncle carries a Glock 26. He has not shot that gun in 5 years. And you know how I know? Because he asked me to clean it last week. It had dust. It had dirt inside the gun everywhere. I mean, like pocket lint inside the frame of the gun, because he never cleans it. He hasn't shot it. As a matter of fact, he's like, yeah, I haven't shot it in a while. I don't even know if this ammo's any good anymore.
Oh, wow.
That kind of stuff. So that's the mindset of quite a few concealed, and there are a lot of them here in Florida. Is it 3 million, 2 million, 3 million concealed licenses?
There's a lot.
Yeah, so
There's a lot. This is where it started, and this is where the most are. And this is, again, every once in a while you hear about something like this going on up in Orlando or somewhere else. But for the most part, day to day, the average sound-minded, smart, intelligent, well-intended adult that's out there that has a concealed carry permit is not using that for nefarious reasons.
this is true.
So, all right, well, cool. I think we kind of did it. The importance of arming yourself. We do believe that, again, this world's a crazy one, and it's up to you to protect yourself. Again, back to why I got mine. I looked at my little girls and my wife at the time, and I said, you know what? I got to take this beyond the glove box. I got to make sure that from there to the car and any other place that we may be where someone with bad intentions, and again, not even on a mass scale, but just on taking advantage of us physically, we have the ability to defend ourselves and the wherewithal, and now with the training, a little more mental aptitude. Let's finish up with mindset. I think that's the biggest thing that you get from training first. Would you agree?
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. You are a prime example of that. Before you took the tactical response class, you thought about all of this stuff one way. Then you go through tactical response and you take that class at that level. You came out of that a different shooter. You came out of that carrying yourself differently as well. So there are a lot of things that change when you get that proper instruction from people who have tons of experience and have been doing it for years. And that pushes you even further, and it makes you want to take it to another level each time. So there's another level of progression that you're seeking now, because I know you're not done. You want to keep learning.
Sure. And the other and I'll end with this. I think that the other thing that's cool is the camaraderie aspect of it. You just mentioned, you dawned on me, just I was thinking back to it, and I was like, the other great thing about that was my brother was there afterwards taking notes. We were talking, we were doing our homework back at the hotel. We were talking to each other. You're right. There was a switch, there was a awareness and a mindset change that happened as a result of that first investment in a class outside of the basic classes. And you're right. We'll keep going. I want to be better and more proficient, so that I know that if any situation comes up and I have to grab some other system that I'm not used to or whatever, no, I am used to that. I know what that is. I know how to make sure that it's up and running, and that we can do what we need to. Also, including the family. You and I are both fathers, and we've got wives and daughters to consider, and making sure that they're a part of all that. I think that's part of the future as well for us.
Yes, sir. My wife just got certified. She is now a certified instructor.
Oh,
And,
no.
we've, like I told you earlier, and I think we were chatting, I said that, some of our pillow talk is actually what steps and what procedures we would take if we ran into an active shooter situation. My thing is, my role is distraction, buying them time. She gets the kids, she gets them out of there. That's her responsibility, but she's prepared. She has she has the holster. She has the training. She's taking the classes. She's, set up the schedule to take a couple more classes this year. And then she's going to continue to get that training as well. And once I get my health up, I'm going to continue to train, and we're just going to do it as a family and just keep taking it even further.
That's great. That's great. Well, again, you can learn all kinds of basic stuff. My family, we did it. It was almost a joke when I brought it up, because I said to them, if we're in a public place, what happens? And so through some training, I realized that a real good option just for the family in general was having a buzzword. And so our buzzword is avalanche. And I say, and actually, I believe this was Aaron Cowan. I'll give him the credit, because this was at one of his training seminars that I learned that I got that buzzword. And I said, well, that applies to us. We used to live in Colorado. My wife's favorite hockey team is the Avalanche. This is great. And basically, the concept is, if you were at a kitchen table and or a dinner table and something happened and something was going on, you would alert your family by saying avalanche stay or avalanche go. And avalanche stay meant get down. Avalanche go meant you get out. And that's just a real basic something that, again, just to give people an example of the type of training things we're talking about that I never would have incorporated into my family's life. We're not crazy. We're not on edge when we go to the restaurant. I'm not looking around, and we don't even drill it anymore. But I did make sure that they know if I ever looked at them in the eye and I banged on the table and said, avalanche, go, they would get out of there. I have no doubts about it. So another quick example as we wrap this thing up. We keep saying we're going to wrap it up, but we keep talking, but that's me.
We could keep going all night, but there's so much more.
Well, shout out to JJ with Reality Survival. We hope this is something that incorporates to what you're doing. I know you wanted to get it kind of a taste on training and the necessity to arm yourselves. Please, everybody out there, check out Gun News Weekly on a Thursday night. Check out our continuing coverage as events unfold around the country. Schwell, any final words?
Check out big3east.com. New content is being put up every day. Thanks.
All right. We'll talk to y'all soon. Have a great night. Take care. Be safe out there. Peace.